Hello, hello. How are we doing, everybody? I thought I'd get started a little bit earlier today. It's actually 5:40. I meant to get started at about 6, but hoping I can save some time and uh yeah, maybe head to the gym or get some other stuff done later. Some grocery shopping. Need to do some grocery shopping. So I know this is a funny time for a lot of people, especially if you're on the other side of the world. But in Melbourne, it's yeah 5:40, so it's a very nice time for me. It's sun's still up, and probably a couple more hours left. So if you're around, thank you for joining. And as always, let me know whereabouts you're watching from in the comments. So maybe a little bit about yourself. If you haven't been here before, just put down maybe some of the things you're interested in painting, whereabouts you're from. I'm always keen to hear where people are watching from, and yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. We've got a couple here in the chats. So there's Videhi Levate. Sorry if I hope I pronounced your name correctly. If not, feel free to correct me. But Videhi has been around for quite some time. Um, I think since I had about 50 subscribers or something. So thank you for joining. We've also got Shanolan. Shanolan says, "Good evening, Darren. Don't know how long I'll be able to stay. It's 11:39 p.m. here. Wow, yeah, it's pretty late. So that's all right. Basically, I'm going to go through a couple of scenes today, and I'm going to show you how to simplify down. So there's basically two scenes. The first scene is a little bit easier. So you can see the reference in the top right-hand corner of the screen. I've also posted the references in the discussion section of the chats if you're watching along in the chats. So you can have a look there and bring it up. The full-sized reference photos that will um, that will help you out because I can't sort of put it up on the screen constantly. It gets, well, not too large anyway. It sort of gets in the way of everything. So we've also got a few others watching on Facebook. There's Mary Lou Torres. How you going, Mary Lou from Texas? First time visitor. Welcome. And thank you for joining. And I hope I can make it worth your while today. And yeah, so if you have any questions, Mary, just drop them in the chats. And also, if you think I'm going too quick and I'm not, maybe could do with a bit of better explanation or a bit more elaboration on what I'm doing, just shout out. Sometimes I get quite into things and I forget to sort of explain exactly what I'm doing. So, but I do remember most of the time, thankfully. I've also got Gail Dennis. I remember you. I remember you, Gail. I think you were here last time in the last class from Massachusetts, MA. Yeah, that's what it stands for, Massachusetts, US. It's 1:42 a.m. here. I especially love urban sketching. Geez, what are you doing up at 1:42, Gail? I actually sleep around 1 o'clock, so I try to sleep around 1 o'clock anyway. Uh, yeah, just depends. Sometimes I get a bit I get I do some painting or I'm making a video or working on something and I forget the time. Um, and yeah, Gail, I do remember you from last time. I think you might have sent a sticker or something in the chats. So yeah, thank you for coming along and appreciate you guys all being here. I know for especially those of you in the States, it is pretty early in the morning, so I hope we can get through the first one. And remember, this is still recorded and it's going to be available online afterwards. I hope the stream doesn't bugger up like it did last time. Um, but anyway, I think that the last stream was fine. The stream before, there was some issues. I think they're all ironed out now. This was what we painted last time. We also went through another scene with, geez, what do we have? We had another scene that was basically, what was it? It was a Venice. Yeah, it was a Venice scene that I painted. It's in the cupboard, and I'm not going to pull it out. It's underneath a stack of 300 other paintings. So I'll leave it there. But if you're interested, you can check and have a look at the have a look at the replay. It is still up. So I'm just gonna have a look at the chats in the other screen. The stuff it's Okay, fantastic. Also got Margaret. Here you go, Margaret. And she's Margaret McFadden from Melbourne. Good to see you. Let's see, who else have we got? We've got Mary Lou says it's 12:45. Got Nathalie here as well. Morning, Nathalie, and it's holiday here today, so I can watch. Fantastic. So no work tomorrow, Nathalie. It's good news. I hope there's no work tomorrow. We sort of finish off around the same time. I'm on. I think it's about 20. I think it's 20, yeah, 23rd onwards to about the New Year's. We've got that time off, so yeah, it's going to be good. We've also, and Mary Lou says it's 12:45 a.m. Early, very early. And we've also got Judy Lisk from British Columbia, Canada. I think you were here last time, Judy. Good to see you again. And Gail says she's still working on her last painting from the last session. I think that's what you mean. Yeah, no rush, and certainly you can always repeat it again if you feel you yeah, if you feel you want to go over it again and try something different. Sometimes your first go, you never. I find it very rare that you get things right in the first go. Mary Lou says, "What am I supposed to be seeing? I only see a sunflower picture." Yeah, so this here is just a scene that I painted last time. So it's basically just have it up so that I've got something pretty to look at while I'm talking to you guys. But if you look in the discussions, Mary Lou, basically where you're typing in your chat, there's a little link there that I've pasted up that I've pinned that says pin comment. You can click on that and that will take you straight through to the discussions where you can find these two reference pictures. So I'll be doing the reference picture on the top right-hand corner of the screen. Look, you can also just follow along with me, and especially because we're working in pens today, it's going to be a little bit easier for you to follow along if, for example, yeah, basically because I'm not drawing in pencil. I do find with the pencil ones, the pencil tutorials I do, people have a little bit of difficulty seeing what I'm doing at times. I try to draw a little quicker. This is something I've done. I painted yesterday for another class. I'll actually be doing a scene similar to this next time. Some boats here as well. What have I got here? Some other flowers, a little cup of flowers. And playing around with the textures and a bit of the background there as well. So that's a bit of my old work. If you're from my previous sessions, if you're wondering the type of style that I paint in and you just want to get a bit of an idea of the stuff that I draw and paint in, little sketches that I've done here, you can get a little idea. Okay, but I'm going to get started right now. Okay, so let's get a sheet of paper. Just turn over to, yeah, we'll turn over to this side. And I'm working straight out of a sketchbook. Got decent paper in it though. It's got 100% cotton watercolor paper in it. Just, it's always important to get your paper pretty flat to begin with, because otherwise what happens is that you the paper is just more likely to buckle around and move when you're painting. So I try to get it pretty flat. I don't tape the paper very often. I don't have too much patience with that, unfortunately. When I'm doing watercolor painting, like a large watercolor painting, though, definitely I do tape that down. I've got a very large palette here. Now you'll be able to see parts of it, so you can just see me mix in the corners here. Okay, it just makes it a little bit easier. And there's a little photo of me, little video of me in the corner as well, in case you want to see what I look like. Anyway, we're gonna get started, and I will be checking the chats periodically. So again, if you have questions, leave them in the chats, and I will get around to you. But I do tend to talk a lot during these things. It's probably because I don't talk all that much, and so when I get a chance to, it just all comes out at once. So 0.3, I've got these liners. They're basically pigment liners. These were given to me by Etcher. They sent them to me in the mail, but you can get your own from your normal office supply shop. They usually cost about $2 each. All you need is about a 0.5 liner, something like that. Will do the trick for pretty much everything. I have a few because it just allows me to get in different thickness of lines. Okay, so what we're going to start off with today is basically bring up that reference photo, and I'd suggest you have the video up on the screen and then you get the reference photo. Try to have that on another device, or if you can, just on the side of the screen, so that you can watch the video as well as refer to your own reference, because the reference on the screen here is too small. It's going to be very difficult for you to sketch in the details. So let's go ahead and get cracking. And Gail's asking, can I use micron liners? Yeah, you can. Yeah, micron liners are exactly the same thing. Fantastic. We've also got Paolo. Paolo, just trying to enlarge your name. Kodarini. I probably butchered that. Welcome, and Paolo's from Italy, 7:51 a.m. here, so it's a better time for you. Seems to be a better time than most of the other viewers. So this is a great little scene here because I think it's a bit look, it's a more simpler scene compared to some of the other ones. We've got a car, which is basically the subject of this scene. And got a little house in the background. There's a tree here. There's great shadows, a great difference between sort of light and dark tones in here, which is awesome for painting, because we can exaggerate that, especially when we're using less details. I find strong shadows can really make it. And Mary Lou's asking, may I ask where you are and what time it is there? So I'm based in Melbourne, Victoria, and it is nearly 6 p.m. here. 6 p.m. So yeah, it's about the only time that I can do these during weekdays. On the weekends, I do similar workshops at 10:30 a.m. Melbourne time, which tends to be a better time for people in the States. And otherwise, it's more sort of like evening time for you guys there. So let's go ahead and I'm going to grab the 0.5 liner. I'm actually going to move this palette away first because it is getting in the way. And knowing me, I tend to dunk my hand inside the palette and then get paint all over me if I'm not careful, if I'm not concentrating. So last time I just kept getting all the blue paint in my hand, and it was frustrating. Here's some as well. Anyway, let's go ahead, and firstly what I want to do is draw in where the car roughly sort of sits in the front of the scene. Okay, so we'll notice there's it's basically the area of the road. Okay, if we look at where the house is, just at the base of the house, I would say the base of the house is almost a third of the way up, but there's a little bit of ground here. Basically, it goes just about, with leaving enough of this road in here. So it definitely is not a third of the way up the page. I would say it's about, if you separate the scene up to thirds, so we've got, say, 1, 2, 3. It's about maybe half of a third, something like that here. So I'm going to just guess. I'm really just going to guess because I'm not exactly sure. It also doesn't 100% matter, because at the end of the day, it's just a reference, yeah? So we don't have to be too worried about getting everything in exact. But there has to be a level of accuracy here, that's for sure. So the footpath does have a little area here like that. You can see it sort of sticks out there. And so I'm drawing it in pretty light, and the car is pretty much a smack bang right in the center here. And this is unusual. I'm kind of thinking, should I move it? Should I not? You know what? I think we'll leave it, and perhaps I'll add in a figure or something like that, because when you've got subjects which are quite, obviously in the center, sometimes it can just be, I don't know. I like to have things a little bit uneven and in ways, so I might have a figure here or something like that. So I always like to draw the things in front first. The reason why is because if you start drawing the house in the background, then you start drawing the car, you're going to have to draw over the top of the house. And that's when things start to get a little messy. So if you're starting out, I'd recommend try to draw the things in front first. So that's why I've come in with the edge of the pavement there, and now I'm going to do the car. Looks like one of these VW vans. Um, and and Nolan and Gail are talking about how tired they both are at the moment, being 2 a.m. in the morning or what have you. Don't know if I've asked you this before, Darren. When you say you're using A5, what size is that? Okay, yeah. So basically this is an A4 paper. A5 is half of that. Well, this is actually it's about 9 by 12 inches. 9 by 12 inches. So it's about 1/8 sheet. Yeah, so 9 by 12 inches. A4 is very similar to 1/8 sheet. Okay, so let, let's get going. I'm gonna just make sure that I have chats of the other one up as well. I'm just trying to follow along. Fantastic. I think we're all good. We've got Sim May from Germany. How are you going, Sim? Whereabouts in Germany are you from? I visited a couple of years back. Would love to go back again sometime. And look, we've got the basic of the basic, and I think we just got to jump straight into it. Now, the car, we're going to have to estimate again, how large do we want to essentially make it? I'm going to enlarge my reference photo, and let's just guess it will start roughly around here. You'll notice the wheel just ends slightly below the pavement, okay, like that. And I'm going to just mark it out roughly just like this, a little circle, okay? And then the other one, okay, this is where we're going to have to do a little bit of measurements as well. We're going to look at the edges of the scene. Now there's a bit of space. It's almost like yeah, it certainly starts, the front of the car starts around about here, but there's a bit of space to the left and the right, okay? But I would say the car takes up almost like half of that space. So we want to just look at that, look at it as a whole. Okay, so come down, that's like the front of it. Okay, and remember, we can just go in very loosely to begin with, like this. I always do this, and then kind of flesh out details as we continue on. Okay, this is probably a bit bigger actually than what it should be. Let's have a look coming down maybe here. Okay, we can change it up still. Let's have a look here. We've got a bit of this wheel at the back there. And then also the wheel here has like a element of darkness. If you look, just an element of darkness on top there, where the suspension and all that stuff is. So a little bit there. Carry that across. It's just a if you look at it, it's just a rectangle. So if you draw a rectangle first and slowly flesh out the details, you get it in. So start with basics and sort of guiding lines and structures, and slowly flesh out the smaller bits and pieces in there. So here's the other wheel in the back. Again, it sort of starts around about here. It's just a circle. I'm not going to try putting all too much at the moment. Okay, so we've got a rough indication of the car here at this stage, and now it's really just a matter of refining and adding on the little features. We'll notice there's a line coming up all the way here, okay, and it comes to the top of the van there. Another line that comes down like this here, okay, and a little separator here running across the van like this, okay, something like this, okay. It's side-on sort of view. Let's have a look. We've got a bit of this section there running through. It's kind of like the door, okay, like that. There's a little handle here. Just put on an indication of like a little handle. We've got a mirror here as well. And then we can just, again, draw out this line underneath the window sections, because the windows are up the top. Little line like this, okay. Yeah. Don't worry about getting it perfect. Okay, this is meant to be done pretty quickly, and Now the wheels, you can see, have a little inner section there, and they kind of you'll notice how many things? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These little kind of darker bits within the wheels. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. And then the inner side parts of the wheel, there's kind of like these little nuts inside the wheel like that. Okay, but apart from that, I think we've got a good indication of what is happening here in the wheels. Okay, we've got all this darkness underneath here as well that I'm going to have to flesh out a bit more later. But darkness in there just to indicate roughly, but I will darken down probably a lot more afterwards. Okay, something like that, just around the tire, and notice the tire then starts to come out quite a bit too. So there we go, draw a line like that, and a bit of the wheel there. Okay, and now we're going to go in and work a little bit on the windows. So now before we do that, we do have a front part of the car. It's slightly three-dimensional. It is three-dimensional, but there's a section you can see just of the front part of the van like that, and then it just sticks out like this. Okay, there's a bit of a bumper here as well. You can kind of add on. Okay, this is all kind of dark in there as well. Okay, so it's all practice. It takes time. The windows. So there's 3 windows. 1, 2, 3. Because we've already segmented this down, cut it into thirds. And in fact, this last third, if you notice, is actually the last third is a little bit larger. Doesn't matter, but just an observation. So let's go and get in the windows. There's one here. Bring that across like that, and it's kind of got rounded edges. It's a rectangle with sort of rounded edges. So there we go. There's one. And inside there's like other stuff. There's like a bit of line work in here. There's what is it? It's kind of like the inside of the van in there. You know what I mean? Like the rooftop and stuff like that. So I'm going to hatch a little bit in there just to darken a bit. The windows, if you notice, are actually a lot darker than the rest of the car. And then the top is a very light sort of white kind of color, which I'm going to get in just a line running across the top. Let's have a look, a quick look. Yep, just a line running across the top like that. Fantastic. And we'll just get in this window here as well. There. Cutting around that little mirror. Yeah, and again, same thing. It's like a rectangle with rounded edges like that. So there's another, there's another window, and then behind there, that window as well, we've got these kind of other side in little frames and stuff. So we can start again coloring in a little bit of detail in there. And there could be a chair here or something. The last one here, so just start drawing along like this. It's very similar to this window, like that. Okay, bit of the corner, round off those edges like that. I think this one's got its little window open. I can't quite tell, but let's just try to get in this again, this inside section of the car. So we notice that there's just a bit of darkness there, and then a bit of something here. I don't know what that is. There's stuff in the back of the car. Yeah, so shade that down a little. But that's about it. Okay, there is of course this funny looking grill here on the back. This is the kind of exhaust grill or something. I'm not sure. Maybe like something for the air to go out, ventilation or something like that. There, and top part of that car. Now there is a thicker line that runs just all the way across to mark out the roof of the van. So that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to get in a nice little lip there at the back. Okay, there we go. So that is looking quite okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's looking like the, certainly kind of like it. I'll just strengthen the bottom of the van a bit more here and here, and the front of the van too, just a little bit more strength in terms of the overall outline of what's going on. I think that's important because it's we're going to be cutting around it in just a moment. Okay, if I'm going too quick, or if you need a bit of help, do let me know as well. I'll be checking the comments in just a moment. So there is, little things here. Look at that. There's a little light or something there. Cool little car. There's even a exhaust pipe at the back. A lot of it is just in darkness, and that's what we're gonna use the watercolors to get in that detail afterwards. So don't worry about all that big sort of shadow underneath the car. That's for a bit later. Now I'm just strengthening the path here, strengthening that path a little bit now that I'm more confident at the position of the van. Okay, fantastic. Just gonna have a look at the comments. Let's see how everyone is doing. Gail says, drawing vehicles is always a challenge for me. Getting the proportions is rough. It is tricky. It is tricky. But the main suggestion I have for you is just look at the van and try to see shapes rather than a van, and try to divide them up. So, it's basically a rectangle, and then the rectangle is divided into three portions, and divided into three portions. And then the windows are three rectangles as well, with rounded sort of edges like this, and two sort of spherical circle sort of areas here at the bottom for the wheels. And after you start recognizing it like that, it becomes a lot easier, because then you're not really drawing a van, or you're not really drawing a person. You're just drawing shapes, and then those shapes begin to take a form of what we interpret it to be. The overall sort of form an overall view of what that subject is. So I remember a time where I was drawing, and I would try to draw the actual thing, and it's when you try to draw the actual thing, it never really, for me, it just never ended up looking like what it was. But when I start drawing shapes, suddenly you get a bit more form, and it becomes a little easier in the mind. You're not stressing, because you're just focusing more on shapes, and it's a skill to be able to reduce things down into shapes. Okay, and you don't have to draw the lines completely straight as well. Look at all this. All these lines are just squiggles, and they're just squiggly bits and pieces that I've drawn into here. They're not even completely straight. Fantastic. And Shanolan says, okay, thank you, fantastic. And yeah, I hope that helps with the sizing of the paper. The size of the paper, it doesn't matter all too much, as long as you've got enough to work with. You don't want to work too small, because I think that can be smaller, I guess, if you've got a smaller pen, but you don't want to kind of be hunched over and really trying to get a lot of detail, and you need more dexterity when you're working smaller. So I think the 9 by 12 inches, or about an A4 size sheet of paper, is about the smallest that I go. Or I do go A5 sometimes. That works very well too, but with smaller scenes with less detail, this would work pretty well with an A5. And Gail says, wow, you make this look so easy. My van is coming out better than I expected. That's good, Gail. And good to hear it's coming out well. And again, if you just look at the shade, light and dark, and just breaking down everything into shapes, you'll be good. Okay, look at that. little bit more detail on the wheels. I could keep on going, but I'm not going to muck around too much. Let me know how you guys are going. Margaret, are you doing okay? And let me know. And let's have a look. We've got Mary Lou says, have to go. We'll check back in the morning. No worries. I'll see you. It'll be recorded and you can check it out when you are back. Fantastic. I've also got Yvonne. How you doing, Yvonne? Joined late. It is early here, 2 a.m. Jeez. Wow. Is it daylight savings or something? It seems to be getting earlier. Well, I guess last time you sort of popped on around 7 p.m., which would have been, yeah, it would have been maybe like 4 a.m. for you guys. So yeah. I've already started and kind of gone through, drawn a bit of the car, bit of this van. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started on the background. Now, background speaking, we just want to look at what's generally on that right hand side. Now, the biggest shape, probably the easiest thing that we can draw is basically this house. It's largest sort of shape, and I'm going to use the same pen. You know, I do have a 0.8 pen. It's not recommended that you go into background shapes with a thicker sort of pen, because then it just makes those shapes and things come forwards more. So you notice what I'm doing here is that I'm actually going over some of these other lines here for the car with a thicker pen, and I'm hoping that will bring this car forwards just a little bit. Okay, I have kind of already done that with the 0.5. When you go over things again and again with the same liner, you can just increase the thickness of that line. So that's the thing. If you've only got one pen, just use that. That's how I normally did things before I got this set here, but it just makes things easy if you do have a set of a few liners, you know, like a point, have like a point, 0.3, 0.5, and a 0.8, something like that, or a 0.1. Just convenience thing. Okay, I'll just stop fiddling around with that. Now, the 0.5, we're going to go straight into the background. You can also use a 0.3, show you the difference between both. And we'll go and, again, look at this house. Now, where does the house start? Now, if we look at the edge of the house, you notice that it intersects with the car. So kind of intersects about halfway through the center. Now, I haven't placed this car exactly as it is in the reference. Actually, in the reference, it is a little bit more to the right. Okay, so that means I'll probably, it's not going to be that 100% exact. But again, it's a house, so they're not, with houses, they come in all different shapes and sizes, so there's not a problem here. Now, if we look at where the rooftop of the house finishes as well, we can see it's almost, it's almost like from the top of the page, it's more than a third of the way through. It's not a half, but it's more than a third of the way through. So I will just kind of mark it like here, something like that. Okay, and how far do we want it to come in? I'll probably get it in around about here. So that's the side of the house, and bring that across like this, and let's bring that down here like this, there. Bit of this. It's kind of like the white frame on the edge of the house, like that. And it actually, you can see it go through the car, the windows there. Yeah, a little bit like that. Interesting. So nice little touch there. And then there's the frame of this window here, which I'm going to go around and draw this one in. Okay, just like this white frame. I'll do this one first, very quickly, like that. And this sort of splits off into two little windows, and then again we split this off into these little sections here as well. So again, drawing the bigger shapes in first, and then getting in the smaller, the littler sort of shapes. I do have another pen here as well, that it's a kind of darker liner that I do use to get in some of these sort of dark bits saves time. It's a flat pen. It's a flat permanent, was it flat pigment liner, flat edge pigment liner? What am I trying to say? Okay, so it just helps me to get these windows in quickly. You can also do this with watercolors, so don't feel like you need to actually get it all in using this technique. Okay, you see the window actually goes through the car as well. It's very very subtle. Okay. Yeah, part of the edge of these windows show through the car. Fantastic. So that's it. Now we can just correct and further enhance in areas. And let's draw a line going all the way across the page like this, just like that, okay. Just to the right. And once we're done with that, we just need to put in the rooftop. So I'd say around about here, we can put in a dot here. And let's get in a kind of triangular sort of shape. So something like this, just connecting up to this top section like that. And then let's have a look, it kind of goes out of the scene really. It's just like this, disappears off. Okay, that's about it. We have some kind of tree here, some tree shape, which I'll scribble in. It's not hugely important because we can do that with watercolors later. We've got another window here that we can pop in like this. Just a little window. Let's start off with that rectangle. And the base of there's a kind of, I don't know what it is, like a little fence or something, a little turquoise colored fence or something like that. I don't know what it is, but it's sort of at the front of that house. I think it's a fence or some kind of wall. Yeah, and then there's actually some plants and stuff in front of this house. So I'll draw in some little shrubs and plants here. I'm making them more obvious as well. Okay, I put 4 in here at the front. You don't have to do that though. There is a kind of in front of the house as well. There's some type of little ornamental entrance thingo. Just something. It's kind of like a, where they've got those plants that can climb, those climber plants that can go through and you walk through like that. Then you've got this larger kind of door here. Okay, cuts across to that right hand side like this. It actually goes all the way out the scene. Can't quite see where it is. It goes all the way out the scene, and inside we've got another square sort of shape in the corner, and a few like darker sections as well here. Okay, so that could be just some window areas to get in. Here's that larger liner that I got, something like this. Okay, and if you don't have one of these, don't worry, just use what you've got. Just use what you've got, which means you may have to color this all in manually, or you can just wait till later, do it all in watercolors. In fact, that looks a bit better than what I've done here. That's too neat, what I've done here, a bit too neat. I don't like that, but we'll be okay. We can try again. I'll show you again if we just go through perhaps for this one and leave the edge of it. 1, 2, 3, something like that. 3, 4, and it edges, something like that. It could be like a window again, and then got a smaller liner here, which is also pretty good. Just get in some of the, these little boards on the house, these wooden boards that just run across the entire house. Okay, so just one line, and notice how when I'm drawing as well, I'm using my entire arm to move the pen. I'm not getting real close and using my fingers. When you use your arms, it makes it so much easier to draw a straight line. It looks straighter, and they get it done a lot quicker as well. The rooftop, there is a kind of a section that runs across the top like that. Yeah, and then yeah, again some kind of horizontals just all across the top. This lots of horizontals. So just draw in a few of those, and should be good. Now, what else do we have in here? We do have some stuff going on here, a bit of detail here on that left-hand side. I'm thinking, should we have a person in here? That's the $1,000,000 question. Should we have a person in here? So that's really up to you. If I put a person in here, perhaps got to be careful that, yeah, I might have to get a shadow that's kind of cast onto the front of the car or something, coming across the ground or something like that. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. This car is probably a little bit on the taller end as well. Let's try to put a head there. Just having a look to see, gauge what we got here. Okay, maybe a person also like that. There, and maybe they are walking into the scene. There. Where's the other leg? Let's get the other leg coming out here, perhaps. It just looks like they're just standing here, a little bit further up. Okay. And maybe this person is just like waiting here for a friend or something like that. Okay, put an arm in, another arm here. What are you wearing? Just a t-shirt maybe, and shorts. T-shirt and shorts. Okay. There we have it. We've got a figure sort of standing here next to the car. On a bit of an angle. I don't know. I wasn't meant to do it in such an angle, but it doesn't matter. So let's have a look how what we are going in the chats. There's a few comments, a few questions. Yvonne says, I like drawing cars to look forward, so look forward to doing this. I've been struggling with a portrait of father and son for a friend with no good references, so drawing this will be fun. Portraits are tricky, Yvonne. Portraits are very tricky, and if you want to save time, look up gridding, using the gridding technique, especially if you've got a photograph that you can enlarge. Saves a lot of time for you, but you do learn a lot when you actually draw the portrait as well. It just takes a lot of time. Dalcini X says, hello. How you doing? Dalcini, good to see you again. And I'm drawing along, having difficulty scaling different objects in a drawing. I mostly just wing it, but this is helpful. Thanks. Yeah, it's hard to know. Yeah, it's kind of like this figure, right? If I drew this figure, I don't know, half the size, it'd look a bit odd, or I'd have to turn them into a child or something like that. So you're kind of looking at, the size of some of these cars and stuff, and estimating how tall maybe the average person would be standing next to this car. Now, I know normally when we stand next to cars, we're actually a fair bit taller than them. But with this van, I'm thinking maybe it's a little bit higher, so I put the head a little bit higher as well. So it looks okay. It looks okay. Let's have a look. There's a few more comments. There's a few more comments here. I'm just going to have a quick look in the chats. Nathalie says, Chatushi says she's okay. 611 here in Melbourne. Linda Woods, how you doing, Linda? Good to see a few more Melburnians here. Linda Currywood says, are these toots available at other times, please? I'm busy packing to move house, can't sit and watch. And I love the VW. Yeah, they are. I do run them on 10 a.m. On Saturday, Melbourne time. So for you guys, I think in the States, it's roughly like 10 a.m. or something. 6 p.m., 6 to 7 p.m. And Linda says, I really want to watch all this, but I'm packing to move house. Can I watch them at a later date? Later date, please. Where? Yeah. So Linda, I do have a YouTube channel you can subscribe to, and it's there as well. It's in a playlist called Live Demonstrations. Also on Facebook, it is recorded and available live, uh, available after the demonstration. So you can go straight into the event, and you'll see the replay at the top. So I hope that kind of helps out, Linda. I've had a couple of occasions where the stream did not record properly, but for most times it works fine. So yeah, given that it works, it will be available afterwards. But I do appreciate you guys being along. It helps kind of motivate me as well, actually. So another great little bonus. And for you guys, you can ask questions and yeah, I guess get help while you're here. So that's about all the questions. I'm going to continue on. What time is it? It's 6:26. Radio. So we're going to try to finish this drawing off. There's not all that much left in here. Now we'll notice there's like a house up and behind there, and there's like a fence. Notice the fence goes all the way, hits that house, and then it runs across here. This strange thing, whatever it is, this fence, retaining wall or whatever, it carries through all the way to that left-hand side of the scene. So go ahead and draw that in, whatever it is. I think it's good though. It's another it's just another shape, because we've got some verticals here and some horizontals, so that's going to be nice. Some little bit of pattern interrupt there. And then we've got this wall, which I know sort of finishes roughly here. Okay. And goes across. Maybe taller than this figure, but it's in the background. Okay. There we go. Oops. I've stuffed up that line a little bit. And let's have a look. What else do we want to do? I've got some other pens I can play around with. This wall also has some of these little, what do you call them? Basically these little wooden planks running through them. So I'm using a liner to just draw a few bits and pieces there, quickly getting them through. Okay. Because it's in the background, I also don't want to overdo it. It appears there's some kind of, maybe like a fence here as well. Hard to see, but it looks like there's a fence or something just connecting up that left-hand side. So that's something there just to draw in. We have got this tree, this enormous tree that just runs up, and it's pretty dark in here. Okay. Just make up a few branches and stuff. Well, like this. It's me a large tree or something. And let's get in a few branches here. The branches, I'm making them a little bit more obvious than the reference. The reference has kind of got more leaves and things coming off. Okay, but I'll put in a few more of these branches coming up like this, so I can just get in a bit more of a trunk, maybe down the base here, something like that. So kind of trunk at the base. Okay, and then come up and just put in a few of these marks and things. And of course, I'm just going to draw in a little indication of the leaves where they sort of finish, like this. Let's say I'm going to make. I've made this tree a lot bigger, certainly a lot bigger, which is going to influence what I've got in here as well. Great. So it's kind of the side of a house. If you look at it, it's just this little edge of a house, like a triangular shape, like that, and then it comes down. But actually, there's more of these shrubs and things that just go around the edge and on top of this fence like that. So that's okay. And this bottom part like that. Okay, and this will be good to get in some shadow perhaps under here. Just another shape. Then we've got this kind of house in here, which is triangular. And we've got another triangle here popping up and coming down like this as well. And doing the edges of these tops of the houses. Okay, so the stuff in the background, you don't necessarily have to get in too much in there, because we want to push that detail backwards as well. We have too much detail in the background, it's going to distract and just sort of distract from what's going on in the foreground. So that's why I try to keep it a little more simple, a little more basic in the background. There's these little vertical lines running down the house, these houses as well here in the background. Okay, it's just a bit of a few things going on back there. There's also a looks to me like a kind of, what do you call it, power lines running across the top of the scene as well. So we can get in a few of these little bits disappearing off into the scene. Some sort of come out there, okay, like that. And then on top of this house as well, that. Okay, so I think that does it for the drawing. Let's go ahead and get started on the painting, and hopefully we can finish this off pretty quickly. I think we could do it in about, hopefully over maybe like 15-20 minutes. The drawing is always the tricky bit. Getting a bit warm in here. Alrighty, so let's pick out some colors to use. So reference, we've got a kind of an orangey color for the van. I'm going to use a larger paintbrush. This is a number 10 round brush. Bring my palette over here to the side, and you guys will be able to see a little bit of what I'm doing as well in terms of the mixing of colors. Okay, tell you the colors I'm using, or if I forget, just remind me. Now I've got a new color called Carbazole Orange. I really like this color, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to use this Carbazole Orange firstly to get in some color on the van. Okay, where you start isn't all too important, but I do like to start with the things in front first, and all the warmer colors, because I find that if we get the warmer colors in, then especially if we've got yellows and things like that, we're not at risk of things turning to green, which is something that has happened to me fairly often. So just a little bit of the interior of that car there, go around the edges like that. This is what is this? This is a quinacridone burnt quinacridone orange. Beautiful color, and it's a granulating orange, which is very rare. I don't really see any granulating oranges. And there we go. Bit of this, a little bit more here at the base. Cut around it a bit, and the proportion of water that I'm using in here is it's mostly water. I'd say 3/4 water to 1/4 paint, because we're painting all the warmer colors and all the lighter colors first. We don't want to go in too dark to begin with. We want to layer the colors over the top, and that will give it more vibrancy. Oops, I picked up too much neutral tint. Just thought I'd drop a bit in at the front here like that. Something like this, and just top that up before I started the class. So let's draw a bit of, it's getting a bit of darkness underneath the wheel like that. Okay, a little bit there, and also around the actual wheel, just darken up a little like this. This is just neutral tint, just a little neutral tint. You just darken that wheel a bit, but not too much. It's almost that same concentration of about a quarter pigment or less than a quarter pigment, be mostly water. We can always darken later, but to go lighter from dark can be tricky. So that's why I pay a little bit more attention at the start. We have to get this bit. We have to get this bit right. There's sections in here. There's sort of like a bit of darkness running through. I'm going to pick up just neutral tint. Drop that in here. There'll be a bit of mixing around, but it's okay. Right. Good. Bit more of this orange here on that right hand side as well. Like a pretty old van, but it has so much character to it. Amazing. Drop in little bits of this darker orange. You'll notice it kind of implies maybe some rust or some faded area. I find this color mixed with a bit of cerulean blue tends to make a rusty sort of rusty looking color. Fantastic. How you doing, Scott? Scott from Grand Prairie, Texas, in Dallas and Fort Worth. Oh, I've never been to the States. I do want to go though at some stage. And welcome and thank you for coming along. Let me know how you guys are going. I'm gonna keep on painting, but if you need anything, you may sort of go through anything, just let me know. Fantastic. So a bit of the ground as well. We're going to need to put this in. I'm going to pick up some primaries over here. I've got a bit of red. I'm going to pick up a bit of red, which is, I think it's a perylene scarlet, bit of Hansa yellow medium, and then a little bit of this stuff here, which is ultramarine. A little bit of ultramarine. We're trying to make a grayish color. Maybe more neutral tint in there. Just a warm grey color. Maybe it needs more blue. Good. Just a warm grey color. I'm going to put that over the ground and connect that up a little bit with the car, but keep it very light. A little wash of that. Now, when you mix up your primaries like this, you can get some amazing colors. You can just because grey is a combination of every other color, and there's just something more interesting to making your own greys and making your own colors. You're making your own greys is what I'm trying to say, and using something like black or whatever from the tube. I do have neutral tint though, which I use quite often. Neutral tint is also composed of several colors. Great, so just got that, it's just a bit of the ground in there. And in the buildings, it's kind of getting towards this teal kind of color. It's almost like cerulean, but it's not. More of this, it's a turquoisey kind of color. So I'm picking up some turquoise. And let's drop some of that turquoise in here. Okay. And the concentration of turquoise I'm using is about a quarter paint to 3/4 water, or maybe a third paint, 2/3 water, something like that. Okay, let's just put in a bit of that window. I'm cutting around the frames as well, leaving some of the white there, so you can see. And this kind of goes in here as well. That here. Oops. Good. Here as well. There. And with certain paints, especially with these sort of lighter blues and teals and stuff like that, you can't really go too dark with them anyway. Even if you use it straight from the tube, it's pretty. The tone is just naturally quite light. Surprised I haven't sneezed or anything yet. It's got hay fever, and this morning it was pretty bad. I'll try to mute the microphone if I do. Wake some of you up. Some of this rooftop. Let's put in some of this rooftop, which is again this kind of grayish color. Okay, pick up a bit of that. Just drop it into the roof, and I'm doing it here because we've got all these wet areas below, and so I want it to mix in a bit. Something there. The plants, I'm going to use a bit of this green. It's called undersea green. A little bit of that color running through there, like that. I'm going to leave a bit of that white on the paper. Let's move across to all the other bits. Again, there's more of this turquoisey color, and it actually goes really well with this van because they're complementary colors. Almost. And they're basically just cool and warm colors. You place cool colors next to warm colors, you just get an interesting sort of contrast like this. And here we just got to do a bit of cutting around the top of that car, like that. Okay. There's kind of like a white strip on top of it there. More of this turquoisey color. Blend that upwards a bit. Yeah. Great. All kind of a little cooler in there. Let's go up into the tree. I've got a bit of color here called goethite, which is a granulating brown. Beautiful color. And I'm just going to put in some indications basically of the branches. I've actually mixed in a bit of raw umber as well in here. Okay, something like that. Kind of just cuts behind. And again, we're gonna redo this a bit later. Put in some dark colors. Let's put in some green for the leaves. So this is a bit of undersea green, beautiful green that granulates out to like a golden, almost like a golden green and in a bluish color. Okay, so just putting in a little bit of that there. Hopefully some of that just granulates out nicely. Okay, but the lighter green in here is actually called sap green, using a bit of that. Let's come across a bit more here to these bushes and stuff sticking out on the edge. Just drop in some color like this. A bit more there. There we go. And the houses in the background, I'm just going to make it simple. Just brown. Just a bit of brown there. Okay. We can go in and get some more darkness in there a bit later, but just a bit of this brown will be good for now. Okay. That house there as well in the background. And while the paint is still kind of wet in some of these areas, I'm going to pick up some cerulean blue. And drop that into the sky. And as you can see, it's turned a little bit greenish, which I don't want. I'm going to mix it up so that it goes more bluish. But cerulean is kind of so has that sort of greenish tinge to it anyhow. There we go. Just a bit of color for the sky. I don't want it to be too dark. Just let it go around and cut around the house and things like that here. Join that on like this. Great. Fantastic. How you doing, Philip? Philip says, love undersea green. Yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy color. It's just so beautiful. The way it granulates out. Yeah, it's one of those surprise colors that I didn't think I'd like. I mean, greens normally are not. They're not colors that I use predominantly in my paintings. So there we go. A bit of that. That's a bit of that undersea green in the corner as well. See what that does. Okay, now that's all pretty much done for that first wash. And I also add in a little bit of shadow, sorry, a little bit of color for the figure, and figure out what color we want for this person here. Now I'm thinking maybe like a warmer color to begin with, and then just sort of mixing down into a purplish color. So we can go with a bit of red or something for the top. Then I'll just pick up a little bit of this purple and drop that in. Yeah, like that. Okay, and maybe some bit of color for the legs. Drag that down a little like that. There. A bit for the head. Just red. Just red color. Okay. Fantastic. Looking good. So I'm going to give this all a really quick dry with the hair dryer. I'll be back in just a moment, and we'll put in the shadows and finish this one off. I'll just pause the audio. Pause. It's a pretty warm day here in Melbourne, so I haven't had to do too much hair drying, which is good. I like to keep the paper just slightly damp actually while I go through and do that second wash, so that there is like areas of softness and things in there. Let me know how you're going. I'm still just having a look at the chats to see if there's any questions. Okay, Susan. How you doing, Susan? Susan says I own that, but it was avocado green. Do you mean the undersea green was avocado? It was avocado green, or was it the sap green you're talking about? Um, yeah, I think that'd be a really good color. Yeah, really good color for avocados, a sap green especially, and then having a darker one as well, blend in with it. And we've got Kate Parbury. How you doing, Kate? Good to see you. Thanks for coming along. Again, how you doing with your with your drawing, your painting? You know, and look, Susan says van. Oh, I know what you're saying. Susan says she owned that van, but it was avocado green. Okay. Yeah, must have been a limited edition. I don't think I've seen a green one before. They're slowly disappearing. In Perth, you don't need to get these roadworthy licenses for your cars, and so people can drive pretty old cars out there without having to spend too much to do them up. But I don't see too many of them over here in Victoria. So, but these are, yeah, they're really cool cars. I mean, they're a classic. What can you say? We've got a few more comments. Margaret says, "Love this one." Darren, thank you, Margaret. It's not done yet. We'll see. I think it looks okay for the moment. Once we put in the shadows, we'll call it. Paolo says, "Very nice. Thank you, Paola." And she also asked, "What brand of watercolors?" So all of the ones I'm using here are Daniel Smith colors, except for the cerulean blue and the turquoise, which are from an Australian brand called Art Spectrum. And also the neutral tint. The neutral tint is a Holbein neutral tint, but everything else is Daniel Smith. I bought a whole bunch of them lately and did a whole some reviews and stuff on them. So you can check out the YouTube channel and or Facebook. I posted them on both if you want to know a bit about them. I actually wish if I'd started off, if I had my time again, I'd probably just get the primary and the secondary set from Daniel Smith, which costs about over here in Australia, it's about $30 for maybe $20 to $30 for one of the sets. Incredible value, which will last you such a long time. And yeah, I end up getting in the start just a lot of palettes of many different colors, but you don't need too many. You only need a few good colors. That's it. Just your three primaries. Fantastic. So we will go ahead and continue. I've also put a few links in the description if you're interested in checking out some of my classes and my courses, that kind of thing. I've got a Patreon. I've also got a site, watercolormentor.com/courses, that you can check out courses that I put up there as well. But yeah, I've got really a lot of free, basically a lot of free content out there that you can work off and learn a lot through as well. So let's go ahead. I really like how this green has granulated out nicely. That's the undersea green. Look at that. You can see some blue, a bit of this kind of golden green color coming through. And this granulation in the sky from the cerulean blue as well, and a bit here from the orange, the what is it again? Quinacridone burnt orange. Amazing. So let's get in the shadows. We should be done probably in about 10 minutes, and we can go start on the second one. So I'm going to be using a smaller brush here. This is a number 6 round brush. I do have a little flat brush as well that I think I'm tempted to actually use the little flat brush too, especially with the shadow underneath the van. I think I'm going to tackle that shadow under the van. Actually, I've changed my mind. I'm going to do the tree first, the largest shadow and probably the easiest one to go forth with. I'm going to be using a bit of purple. This is called Imperial Purple, a granulating kind of purple. And I'm going to be using a bit of neutral tint mixed with that, perhaps a bit of, what else do we have in here? Just a bit of red, just a little bit more red in there. Okay, and I'm going to drop that in here. Let's have a look how that looks on the tree. I think that's okay. So I'm just going to get in a shadow here, and the proportion of paint is about 50% paint to 50% water. In case you're wondering how thick this paint is, okay, it's fairly thick, but mainly it's quite dark. Okay, because we want it to be pretty dark, but it's not as dark as, say, the underneath of this van. So it's technically a mid-tone. Go through and let's put in a bit of darkness into this tree in areas like this, and you see these little bits of white coming through, and temptation is to kind of get rid of it, but don't do that. Let it sit there for a bit, and it actually creates more interest. Little bit of this dry brush work on the edges of some of these trees and the big sort of areas coming out the top like that, these larger sections. Again, leave some of this green and things there as well. We don't want to go over all of it, because having some of it show through, it's super important. Create some variation in there. But as we move down, we're going to get darker around the edges here. You can sort of see there. And then, of course, the fence, the shadows of this tree just cast on the fence. And they go all the way through and cast some of these kind of irregular shadows. But they're all kind of coming from left to right. Okay. And we want to leave some of that previous sort of color in there as well. See that sort of lighter turquoisey color. It's important to leave some of that in there because that is going to make it look more interesting. Make that shadow look a bit more interesting. Okay, so let's have a look. I think that looks all right. I may mix a bit of undersea green in and just also try to get in a little bit more darkness for some of these shrubs and things running around the background like that. Okay, soften off there a little bit. Okay, around this figure, I thought I'd soften off a little there too. Great. Now for the car, I'm going to use purple and neutral tint, very dark color. And this is where I said I might use this other brush as well. Where is it? Flat brush. Let's just see. The kind of shadow starts almost here. Ooh, too much paint. And we'll bring it across, connect up the wheels like that. Very dark. And in fact, the darkness, it goes all the way underneath the car like this. The shadow was almost coming from it's still from the left, but still from the front left. There. And I'm just going to color this all in. And this dark color like this. Okay? There's this bit here, I'm not just a bit worried about this. I'm going to use this brush to lift off a bit of paint from there and move it along to that left to the right hand side so that it doesn't pool there for too long. Okay, even in here you notice just above the wheel there's a fair bit of darkness there as well. So drop in a bit of paint here and there and let it carve out the wheel, detail on the wheel. That it's even in the actual wheel here itself further down as well. So going down further, yeah, cut around a bit, and just start putting in a bit of detail. These 5 little darker sections on the wheels, inside the wheels, like this. It's the design of the wheel itself. Okay. Hard for me. I might have to stand up, have a quick look at how it's looking. It's okay. And then now we got to do the back end of the car, which again, we'll just pick up that really dark color. Shadow, it's a long shadow that just runs all the way. It actually goes up the curb. That when you're painting like me on a bit of on an angle, because I've got the camera up here, it can be tricky to see what's going on at times exactly. And I end up painting on a funny little angle as well. Okay, that shadow goes pretty far actually, but I'm going to end it off roughly here. That. There we go. Looks all right. Shape it up a bit. You do notice as well in the car there are these little, that's like a bit of exhaust pipe or something there at the back. I can put in. Okay. Have a look, what else do we need to put in here? There's also some darker bits in the car. You'll notice just underneath here as well, there's a bit of darkness underneath this section like that. There's a bit here on that edge of that door. Even inside the car there is these little sections in here as well that have darkness, so it's just drawing out a bit of detail in here. Darkness contrasted by lighter colors around it. Without putting in the darkness, the lighter sections are just not going to be really visible. Well, they're not visible, but they're not going to pop out and look nice and vibrant. So often people get worried as beginners to put in the darker colors thinking they'll ruin it, but actually it enhances, it does everything to enhance the lighter elements in your painting. Okay. What else do we have in here? I think we're just about done with the car. I do want to just slightly water down this area as well. Whoops, too much. Lift off. Not used to using this weird brush. There we go. Better. Dark enough on the inside, but not too much. Okay. Fantastic. A bit more of the wheel, just a bit more darkness inside the wheel. Just indicating that sort of circular part of that wheel as well. It just needs more. Just needs more. And I often find that you go in there once and then it dries off and it's not dark enough. So go in there and restate it again. Okay. This figure as well, we got to get in a shadow for that figure. I've just about forgotten about them. Let's put in a shadow coming across the ground like this. Something like that. There. That'll do. And that'll do. In terms of this person's clothes, I do feel that he's actually a little bit, should be lighter. Get a tissue. Also, we can get some gouache, a bit of white gouache, which I also use to bring out highlights and things later. What am I doing? We don't need the gouache just yet. What I was trying to do is to lift off a little bit of paint, just to see maybe if I can get a bit of lightness, a little bit of lighter color showing through. Okay, that's better. And you can do this just by putting some clean water and sort of scumbling around a little bit. Then you lift off a bit of paint. There you have it. Looks like this figure is a little bit more in the light. Because there's technically not going to be a shadow on this figure. Yeah. Comes out a bit more. Not too obviously. With a nice softness to it as well. Okay. Let's leave that. Now we'll go into the background and put in some of the colors. Now there are shadows running across the scene for the buildings, and they're kind of like this. I'm going to use a bit of this turquoise color, but darken that down a fair bit. And this is how I'm going to add in just a bit of turquoise mixed in with purple. And I'm going to go over this section of the house to create some extra darkness here, okay, underneath there. Sharp sort of section there. A bit more turquoise in there. Look, cutting around that van. There we go. There, sort of runs all the way to that right hand side. There is darkness in here as well. The inside of the house. It doesn't have to be perfect, just a bit of darkness running through is good. It's not actually that bright on the inside as well. It's more like a watered down section like that. Soften up a little bit. But yeah, this shadow here is a sharp edge, as you can see. Sharp edge, which then comes down and cuts around the van. Bit of this tree here, shrub below that I've kind of drawn in a bit earlier, but I'll soften off. As you can see, I've just softened it off a little bit in those areas. And let's put in a bit more in here as well. There. That. Perhaps a bit of shadow or something underneath there as well. Sometimes you just need a bit of that, a bit of darkness or something running to the right hand side of some of these shrubs. Okay. Good. And I'm going to do the same just on here as well. So just a bit of darkness here underneath that rooftop. And thinking what we can do. Yeah, there's actually some shadows and stuff from the tree over on that side, which still carries on almost through here. Let's just carry a bit of that shadow or whatever across so that it makes sense. More green, a little bit more of that green in here as well. And then I'm just going to carry a bit of this shadow coming across the window and stuff as well. We'll cut across, but hopefully makes sense. Good. Actually goes all through the white a little bit like that as well. Yeah, a little bit of that. Okay, rooftop. Power line sort of shadow like that. And then for the rest of it, I'm just going to put in a few little scumbly sort of marks on the roof, okay, using the edge of the brush like this to indicate some textures on the roof. I'm not going to draw everything in there, just little textures and things. Okay. A little bit of, maybe we'll put in some birds or something up in the sky, just a couple. Always ends up being more than a couple. Lean on myself again. You off in the distance or near the house here. We're not done yet, mind you. We've still got to get in a little bit of shadow for the background houses, which is what I'm doing now. We'll pick up a bit of brown and a bit of purple mixed together. And I'm just going to go in and yeah, just put in a bit of this shadow that's, I guess, cast over the house there and coming over like that. And then you've got darkness under here. You don't want to overdo it because these are in the background. So there's not much point of defining too much at this stage. Yeah, just more indicating a few things going on. You know, those are the kind of pillars or whatever planks that they're made out of. There's even a fair bit of darkness inside all these windows like that. Apart from that, there's not all that much needs to be done. Here we might just get in a slight little bit of darkness in here as well. Edge of this house, getting a bit of a shadow running downwards as well. And a bit of darkness maybe running here, side of that house, a bit here, just to connect it all up. Okay, that's looking good. There's also some darkness and bits of indications on top of the house as well, like that. You can see just little subtle bits where it's almost like just touch and go. Okay, the figure here, I'm thinking what we can do, get in a bit of color for the hair. Bit of color for the hair. That. Looking over to the left, if you see where you put the hair, you put the hair sort of coming towards the right, going over to the right, it looks like the figure's looking to the left. Opposite way, you can make them look left, right, or you can put the hair going all across on the head and it will make it look like they are facing forwards. They're back towards you. Okay. Shorts, just get in a bit of color for the shorts. Yep. Maybe some blue, a little bit of blue mixed with some gouache. I use a bit of white gouache to bring out some highlights. Just squeeze a bit here on the edge of the palette. Bit of cerulean mixed with that. White gouache can give you a nice sort of color. Look, Sometimes it doesn't work exactly. Blends in like that, and yeah. Um, and yeah, really the rest of it is just bringing out some highlights. So I mean, I've just got some white gouache here, and you might think, you know, I need a bit more white in the wheel or something like that to bring out more contrast. So you can just drop in some white in some of the wheels to recover a little bit of the white in here. Get in some highlights, for example. You can clean up some areas of these frames if you've gone over them, um, that kind of thing. I find that works quite well. What else do we have in here? Bits and pieces, really, but that's the gist of it. Okay. The only other thing I thought you could add in is maybe some perspective lines running through the scene. I'm really not sure what to do for that. Probably, I mean, we could go just running across like this. It's a crack. Too dark. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Some perspective lines. And just to finish it off, I thought I'll add in a little contrast underneath this area of the pavement, like that. Add in a little bit of contrast there, make it stick out a bit more. You can also get textures on the ground by using the sides of the brush. It's kind of you know, dry brushing over sections like this, and it helps to just add some texture to the ground more than anything else. Fantastic. And that one's finished, and hope you're still following along and enjoying the session. Let me know how you are doing. Carol, this is Daniel Smith, a good brand. Thank you. It's decent. I use a few different brands, but I do like the granulation of these Daniel Smith paints, which is why I sort of tend towards them more these days. Fantastic. I think we still have quite a few people watching. Oh, there's actually some chats in here. I've missed some of them. Philip Stroll says hardest part for me is getting the drawing proper, then water management. Nothing brush time can fix. You need more. If you need more Daniel Smith, is be glad to send them. Probably less expensive than shipping from the company. I think I'd be all right. I think I'd be all right, Philip. But thank you for the offer. I've got quite a few at the moment. I'd feel bad to accept. I've just I've got almost full paints at the moment. So I bought the primary set, the secondary set, and also the mineral mixing set. So yeah, Amazon ships it anywhere. Get it? Yep. Philip says that's my biggest mistake. I think not leaving enough white and not properly predicting color expansion over dry time. Yeah, when you're painting wet into wet, it's like you're just trying to you're almost trying to look into the future and see what you think's going to happen, and predict and hopefully predict that the water doesn't spread too much or what have you. But it's something that comes with practice, and don't feel like you get it straight away. I mean, I still have a lot of moments where things certainly just don't work out, and I plan for it to dry a certain way and then it doesn't. So yeah, let's have a look. Gail says it's 3 a.m. here, so I must be off. I'll finish watching the recording and post my pictures when I'm finished. Thanks so much for your generosity in doing this. No worries, Gail. Thank you for coming along. I'll be keen to see what you come up with as well, and if you got questions and like kind of if you want some constructive feedback, with your general feedback, let me know. There is a Facebook group, facebook.com/group/watercolor mentor, and you go through and post your paintings too. In there, Delcini says, "Hey, thanks a lot for doing this and for answering questions. You don't know how much this helps beginners like me." That's makes me happy to hear comments like that. Delcini, just knowing that they're useful and it's just good fun. It's really good fun doing these while you guys are here as well, and just having an opportunity to ask me while I'm doing it too. I think rather than having to figure out what's going on afterwards. This figure's still on a funny little angle. I don't know. I might change it up a little bit later on down the track. Perhaps straighten out the legs or something like that. I don't know how exactly we'll do this. You can start perhaps darkening a little bit on the legs, like this, something like that maybe. Fantastic. I'm gonna get started on another one. I know a lot of you guys are probably knackered by now, but I hope I can maybe finish the second one quickly, because I've been doing 2 each session, and I do feel like, at times I should shorten them, but sometimes I just don't. I don't really feel the time go by when you're in the middle of something. But I will grab a quick drink. Actually, I'll be back in just a moment. But yeah, just pop your questions in if you have any questions. I will be back in just a second. Hello, everybody. I have made it back, and we will be starting with the second one. So if you're still around, then congrats. You probably should be sleeping. Yvonne says leaving as well for a nap, and Philip says the figure's perfect. 70s psychedelic, 70s psychedelic strut for a 70s bus. Yeah, it's probably on something, Philip. Probably lost. So let's have a look at the chats on the other channels. Natalie says thank you. Lovely painting. Thank you, Natalie. Sim says thank you, and these granulating colors are now on my wish list. Some more to the don't know 30 colors I already have. You know, I saw these other colors actually called. Ah, geez, what were they called? They're like a Canadian brand. If anyone's used these, let me know. They're called Rockwell, Rockwell paints, and I can't find them anywhere except for their website. But they have incredible like granulating. They almost granulate out so much that there's three different colors when they granulate. So I'd love to try out these Rockwell paints at some stage. They're a Canadian brand, and I've not heard of them until quite recently. But if you Google them, you'll see what I mean. I love granulating paints, and especially ones that separate out into different colors, kind of like that green, the undersea green here. And yeah, this orange is just amazing. It's just amazing how you can get like just this texture. Looks like there's texture on the van. Susan says, yeah, the 3 reviews on the Daniel Smith set that I've done are terrific. Awesome. I'm glad you like them, Susan. And I did go into quite a lot of detail in them. I even have a little microscope that I connect to my computer to sort of show a view of it under the microscope. I thought, so many people make these videos, so I got to think of something different to do, right? So yeah, I do a demonstration, and I also yeah, do a demonstration. Also go through their general performance. So let's make a start on the other one in a moment. So if you want to bring up the reference picture for the second photograph, now this is a photograph of somewhere in Copenhagen. Somewhere in Copenhagen. I'm not sure where this is. Can you let me know if you have been here or if you know the location? So I want to find some more photographs, perhaps another one on an angle. This is a pretty classic view, and normally a scene like this would take a very long time to do. I'm going to try to do it in a short period of time, just like a more simplified version of it. Normally this will take quite a while to do because of the windows. So I'm going to be doing a lot of estimating. Look at all the people. I mean, if you zoom into the photographs, people everywhere all in the back. I've seen other artists do these scenes, and the amount of detail that you can put in these is just limitless. So we'll try simplify it, make it easy for us. V is here. Good to see V, and good to see you here again. And being here since the beginning, watching today. Only unable to sit up or paint or draw, but am learning. I really want to be able to paint this second photo with you. Ah, it's a shame. I hope you don't sound too good these days, but I'm sure that it's just a matter of time that you'll be back on your feet again. That's what happens when you're yeah, when you're out, when you're sick. Sometimes you can't do all the stuff you enjoy doing, but look, ho- hopefully you get better soon. So I'm thinking of you. So um, let's go ahead and get started. I think I've addressed all the chats here. Annie Ferranda says thank you. You're welcome, Annie. And we will get cracking. I will look at the chats in just a moment. So, pins 0.5, 0.8, 0.3. The same ones that I normally use actually. And when I run out of these ones, I'll just probably have to use the 0.26 and 1.0. So, same thing goes for this one. I just want to mark out the location underneath some of these buildings. Okay, and I will try to simplify this one down because there's so much in here. This detail in here is yeah, it's nuts. So the bottom of the buildings, roughly around the bottom of the buildings, is about a third of the way up the page. Let me just calculate that. Roughly here. Roughly here. So we'll draw a line about a third of the way up from the bottom of the page. Okay. Keep it generally straight, but I've kind of got it wobbly but still straight. That I know that doesn't make sense, but it's almost like a series of little lines connected up. Makes it a lot easier, and then it's just the style that I tend to do things as well. We got the boat here as well, and what we got to figure out also is that there is, yeah, there is some kind of wall here as well, running through to the back. But I want to get in this boat, and we know that the boat finishes roughly, comes down roughly like about here. Okay, so I can just draw in a little shape, general shape of where the boat like finishes off. So when I say here, it's like, it's not directly in the center, it's slightly right of the center, slightly right of the center. We're not talking about politics. And we'll go through here and just connect that up at the bottom. And like that. Okay. It looks all right. That's all right. Now, these little box, it's just like a box in the boat. Just look at it in terms of shapes. Okay. It goes up here and it's just, draw that rectangle in like that. Okay. And then there's a kind of edge. Oops. It kind of goes up here. There. There. And the roof, little roof of it like that. Yeah. Fantastic. There we go. We got a bit of this boat already in here. There's some details in the boat as well, and some darker windows and what have you. So you can see here just a couple of little windows that I'm just shading in, okay, as we go. It's kind of along the way thing that I tend to do when I'm drawing. I'm going past this area anyway, so might as well draw it in. And doing it in that way sort of does it in a looser sort of style as well, so you're not overthinking things. Now, I don't know much about boats, guys, so if I'm talking about this pole or that pole, do bear with me because I'm not really sure what all the little components are. I know these are like masts. um, I think there are, I'm just going to call them masts. So there are a couple that sort of stick out the back here of those boat, of the boat. So there's like kind of two coming up like that. And I'm going to just put in a very basic indication of where they are. So roughly one here, and then we'll get roughly another one coming down like that. And we're going to do it a bit more later, with more accuracy, but I just want to put it in now, to get started. Inside the boat as well, we're going to need to, if you've got the reference picture, which I have uploaded on the discussions on YouTube, you can have a look. Zooming in, I'm just having a look at extra details inside the boat, because there's actually a lot, so much going on here. Inside the boat, there's kind of just these rectangular shapes, storage containers, all kinds of stuff in here, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and just get in a little bit of detail here. There's this kind of goes up into the mast. What do we got here? Got another structure coming up there. We've got a sail or something here. You can see it's kind of like a black cloth running down there like that. Good. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and get in the edge of that boat, just the bottom of it better. Okay, just mark it out a bit better. And there's also another line that comes through the boat, like here, kind of segmenting it in half, type of thing. That, okay, good. The bottom here is where it kind of touches the water, and extend it out. If you've done the boat a little too small like I have, you can extend it out again like that. Okay, good. There's little railing areas on the boat, like these little sort of railing here. Look at that. There. Kind of goes all the way around the other side of the boat. all of this stuff in here is pretty dark, and I actually want to do most of this in watercolors if I can. Yeah, but while you are drawing, have certainly use it as a just use it as a bit of a practice, I suppose, to do your drawing. This is actually, have a look at that. It's actually two of them. One kind of running behind, little one there. That. Yeah, there we go. A couple. What else do we have there? There are these little. Look at that. These little lines that just run up there as well. They'll kind of connect to the bottom parts of the boat. It gets pretty complicated. It gets pretty complicated, but don't worry too much because you can't quite see these so well. If you need to really squint to see what exactly is going on in here, where they're running and what have you. Yeah, but just get them in like this. Okay, good. Fantastic. Yeah, a few little bits running around and have you. Excellent. So now we do have to put in some of this section here where there's people that are just walking along in the background. Okay, and then it's kind of like that's where the water starts. So this is the kind of wooden. I don't know what it is. It's basically near the water where the boats are just docking for a bit, and you've got these planks of wood kind of coming downwards. And you see just these vertical planks like that. Okay, so I'm just using a pattern, a basic pattern like that. Okay, there we go. We've got that side on the left as well. You got the 0.8 liner. You can go in and start just adding a bit more darkness around the edges of this boat too, to draw it out, make it come forwards more. Something that I do afterwards once I'm confident about the generic shape that I'm drawing in, but I do go in often quite light and then go in darker, thicker lines later once you're certain of that shape. Did I just repeat myself there? I think I just did. So that's one boat. Now we're going to put in the other boat. And that's why I sort of draw the stuff in front first. And we do the stuff in the back, it's going to be easier. We can cut around the boat. We don't have to worry about disturbing it. We start it, say roughly here. Okay. And go across. You have to get it all in one go as well. You can go light and then go darker over the top once you're done. But this is good because we've got a smaller boat here. We can see just a little one here in the front, and then this larger one, which kind of cuts over the top, or goes behind this one here, this little boat, like that. This one's got a mast as well, kind of sticking up around here, and it's roughly the same height as that one, so we can just copy that there. Section in here as well. Just that couple of windows there, couple of little windows. Good. And there's all this kind of tarp and stuff running across the areas inside the boats. Just bits and pieces, really. I'm not fussed about exactly what's in there. I'm just looking at the shapes. Okay. Fantastic. I think that does the trick. Now all we need to do, another thing that I've noticed is these little umbrellas here in the background. Now, the buildings, this is going to be tricky because we've got so many of them in the background, but I'm going to show you a way that I'm going to just sort of reduce them down. Oh, sorry, I forgot to swap over the reference. Hang on a moment. Oh, there we go. Hope that's a bit better. Let me just enlarge the photo a little bit. It's a bit tricky. Yeah, hope that's a bit better. Sorry about that, Philip. Cool. All good. All good. Let me just check how we're going on Facebook. Everyone's asking about the photograph. It's all changed now, guys. And yeah, if you again, the reference picture is in the discussions tab. I sort of post it separately if you want a larger version of it, because it's still pretty tricky to see with in this scene because we've got so much detail in there. So certainly if you want a closer look, grab that reference picture. So what we're going to do and continue on. Let me just have a look at look at the reference from my end. I think we are good to go. Oops. Where is it? Here we go. Okay. So I've still got this 0.5. Still got this 0.5. We've got roughly about 6 houses. So if we count them all, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a little bit of one on that side. I'm not going to count that. But we want to put in roughly the middle area. So we cut the page in half, perhaps about here. We're going to put a line here, and this will be the middle of all these buildings. We also want to leave some sky in as well. So roughly just a little slither of sky at the top. The buildings finish about 3/4 of the way through the page. Yeah. So you want to leave a decent bit of room at the top for that sky. Okay. But I'm going to start here and get in the rooftop of a building and just quickly put in a bit of this one here. That's one. Look, is it wide enough? Perhaps not. So 1, 2, 3. Doesn't matter. We can I can make it a little bit larger. The second one a little larger. Actually running across here. There. This building is actually a little bit shorter than that one to the left. Slightly shorter. That's the second rooftop. Then you've got this sort of building here to the right, which is a little more complicated. And that, just a triangular sort of shape there. Like that. Okay. What is that in the corner? That's another building. There's another building here in the corner as well. Bring that down and I'm just gonna finish it off like that. Okay. Keep it simple. So we've basically got in these 3 buildings, the gist of those 3 buildings here. What we want to do is separate them out into the kind of ground floor and then the 3 floors, 1, 2, 3 up the top. So keeping in mind, we've got all these people all here. Look at all these little figures and what have you here. There's little umbrellas. Of course, we can put in some triangular-like shapes here to indicate some of these umbrellas as well. So there's one. We might be able to put one here. Just triangular shapes, okay? Don't overthink it. Little triangular shapes running through that background. section there. There's another one here. It's actually it will be a little higher. So let's draw this one in like this, that triangular sort of shape. And there, there's some more over here as well. There, and another one kind of overlapping like this. Maybe another one it's out of the scene to that left-hand side like that. Okay, a little bit of that section. I mean, we could even put one in here. Why not? Let's put one in here. It's just a small one. Although I have kind of drawn some figures in there over the top. We can separate out these buildings now. So here's these 3 buildings. So 1, 2, 3. That's the mast. So I'm not going to touch that one. And see how we're drawing over the top of everything as well. It makes it so much easier when you draw the stuff in the front first. Okay. Fantastic. And now we just want to separate out the buildings, kind of about a third of the entire building. That. And draw a mark on the 1/3 mark between here and the top. Okay, for these two, don't do the third. The third one doesn't have a lower sort of section marked out. But what you do have is now some of these little kind of windows. So we've got they're kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 rows of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. Now, and I'm going to go in with another liner at the moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 3 rows of 5, and then 3 rows of 4. 1, 2, and this is really if you want to be pedantic about it as well. So don't don't feel you have to do the reference exactly. Do it as per the reference exactly. In fact, there should be more space in between, which I haven't done in the windows. So we've got a door here, darker sort of door here. Great opportunity to get in some darkness, and I will actually go over some parts of these with a darker liner in a moment. If I got it here, actually, I can just show you. And it's these really cool flat pigment liners that I've been using that make so much of a difference. Where do I have them? Got them here. We use this one and maybe this one. This one. So for example, we can just go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4. If you don't have one of these, just use a normal pigment liner. The normal pigment liner will do the trick. It just takes a bit longer, and I find that they kind of look better if you do them rough as well. Don't try to draw each of the windows in. Okay, you do some of them a little bit neater, but then do others a little messier, if that makes sense. You've even got some windows on top here, like this is 1, 2, 3 here, kind of stick out of the rooftops like that, have a little section on top like that. Okay, so little opportunity here again to get some more, and I've got a smaller liner. Let's use this one. This is actually a pretty good one to use. Slightly smaller, probably better actually. So that can be a window like that here. Now some of these windows are like shut, or they're just you're barely visible, can't really see much in them. So you don't have to get them all in. Okay, this is me going very, very messy as well, and not lifting the pen off the paper all that much. Just letting it travel down, do its thing. Like that. Okay, we do have another couple up here as well. Again, this another section of the building. Like that. Okay. There's so many windows here, and this is why I said this would take a long time, because the painting takes almost no time at all when you compare it to what you have to do here. So if you're sitting at home and you need more time, just do it in your own pace. Maybe pause the video for a bit if you're having some issues keeping up, and do it at your own sort of pace, because at the moment I'm doing it at the moment pretty quickly, just to get things in. But normally I would probably go slower. Fantastic. I'm still keeping an eye on the chats, everyone. So yeah, if you have any comments, let me know. Philip's saying your drawing's better than the reference photo. That's awesome. Thank you. We'll see how we go. It's a bit rough. It's a bit rough at the moment, but it looks okay. Thank you. So we're going to go through and do the same thing. So really, just with the windows, this is taking a long time. Yeah. We've also got areas down the bottom where we have, there's figures. We can get in the bodies of figures here. People just walking along. So, like this, standing around, maybe crowds of people that are just overlapping with each other. Okay, and just all I'm doing is just putting some shapes underneath here. Yeah, not identifying them all too much. There is some more windows here as well, which we can get in like that. And look, there's a few more here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. More here. I'll do one very neatly and you'll see the difference. Slightly more neatly. So see that compared to that one there? Another one fairly neatly like that. Okay. If you want to spend a little more time on these. And, some more up the top. There's a square sort of segment here. These two squares, windows with 4 little darker components inside. White frames around the edges as well. How many rows of these are there? I'm starting to regret picking this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 rows, so we can split roughly into half. This 2 rows above, 2 rows below. So there's 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That, something like this. And below we've got 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Calculate just in case I 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Notice how they're not perfect, and but because I've got them roughly in the right position, and the windows are around the same height from each other. So see how they're all kind of lined up around the same height. It doesn't matter. They still look like buildings. Yeah. My hands getting tired drawing all these little windows, but I'm really enjoying how it's starting to come together. Okay, You can outline some of the frames a bit more. So what do we have? We've got 1, 2, 3, and then we've got 2 more rows of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we've got another row of 6 here below. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. Same sort of deal. Let's swap over to this one here. That makes it a bit easier. Hopefully you can just get in a few lines of detail in here. Makes it so much easier because the marker is roughly shaped the same as the dark areas in the windows. Okay. I can't get in the amount of detail as in that's in the reference, but it's it's fairly close. Close. Okay, and we're going to repeat. We're going to repeat for the ones to the left. So what have I got here? I've got my 0.5 liner. And let's go ahead again. Let's separate these buildings out. Now we do have, again, there's a little bit of this odd building here on the left. But for the rest of them, we separate out into 3. This building here is the biggest. And then we've got like kind of 2 here, smaller. So we can just go in here. I know the roof starts about near the base of that one on the right there, the base of that roof on the right, and it goes higher out of the scene, not out of the scene, but higher into the sky like that there, and a little chimney, something up the top like that. Okay, there we go, we've got that one in. And now for the second one here, we're going to go, it's kind of on a bit of an angle like that. Bring that across. This one starts at the base of this rooftop. Top of the roof starts at the base. So you're always comparing everything in relation to one another so that you're not ever stuck at where proportions should be. In terms of things are always kind of compared in relation to one another when you're drawing. And if you get the big shapes, the larger shapes in correctly, the rest of it's pretty easy. The rest of it's just separating out those shapes into smaller components. Okay, so there we go. Second building, and we'll do the third one. And we know it's starting around out here. It's the same height and as this one as well. So, oh, maybe a little bit taller. Chimney here. Bit of 3D stuff going on in there. Good. I've got a angular section like this. There. There. There we go. That's that one there. The one on this side as well just comes up. Got a bit of a chimney there. There. Now the stuff in the corners, we don't have to detail all too much. I just have to put that in there so that the other buildings don't look too big. Okay, and the same thing goes. We can go through here and split out these windows and what have you as well. Let me just have a look how we are. We're going almost through the drawing. Almost through the drawing, and this is good practice for you guys if you are figuring out figuring out ways to separate buildings, draw buildings, simplify them down. Okay, this is a process that I use for pretty much any kind of building I draw, but this is I think I've picked an overly ambitious subject for this one. So let's go ahead, and I'm gonna put in a little bit of darkness as well in here at the base of some of these little areas like that. Okay, too dark. some of these little spots under here, which I'll just indicate quickly. That you notice underneath the boat as well, there's certainly some darkness in there. Okay, I'm just cutting around a little like that. Darkness there. Okay, just trying to figure out some areas of shadow that I can put in with the pen to make it pop a bit more. Okay. A little bit on top of this boat too, and a bit at the bottom as well, like this. Touch the water like that. Okay, good. Some of the bits and pieces in the boat here. Draw some of that out. That. Good, good. I do actually want to get those masts in as well, but let's finish off these windows first. We'll start off with this one. We've got 2 layers, so we've got one. It's almost like 5 windows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then another 5 directly below. So 3. Might use this pen for 5. Okay, and we can just draw in some of these windows. This would have been better if I just done it as a once-off scene actually, rather than done 2, because now there's a lot of detail in here. But I guess this is a good, I see a good sketching sort of exercise for you to practice on. The more sort of lines you draw, the easier it becomes, and the process of just breaking things down and the little components and trying to recreate them becomes easy. You don't have to think as much anymore. It's just automatic. You still have to measure here and there, but for the most part, a lot of it's just becomes automatic. Okay, so a little shade or something like that up top there. Fantastic. And this is like a section here. Let's have a look. There are some slight areas of darkness as well here in this building. If you look just kind of on the edge there, we do have a bit of darkness down the bottom, but we can draw in the windows. Again, 3, 4, another 4 up the top as well. 2, 3, 4. Okay, and the bottom is just pretty dark. This one here is, again, just connecting on that. And darkness in this section down below, which is going to be good. Getting a bit of contrast. And then row of couple of windows here. Then there's how many? 6 by 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Okay, so you can go in and start putting in a bit of detailing as well below. Here there's kind of like the bottom parts of the building there that you want to just cut around. Little shades and things here as well. The background like that. Just really make them out. But you know, a bit of darkness in there. Okay. It goes around the back. Perhaps behind this boat as well. Connect it up a little. Okay, let's do a bit here. Thing around the umbrellas. This white umbrella here in the front. That. Good. kind of just comes down. Okay. A few more bits and pieces into the windows. I'm just going to make them kind of 4 dark spots in the windows, and that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Okay. One's done a bit more loosely. Okie dokie. Little lines I do find on top of the rooftops as well helps. More windows. So many of these windows. I think I've drawn like 100 of them so far. Okay. Bit of that. Just some of the line work on the rooftops. Doesn't have to be much, just a few lines. And what happens due to the perspective, you're going to find that as you come towards the middle, the lines are straight and then they go sort of flay out towards the side a bit as you move to the edges. So we have got in a little impression of what is happening in here. Okay, and you know, certainly there's a lot more that you could do if you spend a extra time on drawing out the details and what have you. Okay, I probably wouldn't have gone through and done the bottom of this boat. I think that looks a bit too much, but once we get the water in, I think we should be okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started painting. Okay, and let me know how you are going. I know this has turned out to be quite full on. These windows got Matt R as well. Matt R's here. Hi Darren, catching up with you after a long time. Liking your sketches and painting today. I'd like to know, how did you create the notebook? It's a good size of detail work. Yeah. So with this book, basically what I've done is you can get a full sheet of watercolor paper, 76 by 56 centimeters. And over in Australia, it costs about $10 or less than $10. It can go about $7 to get a sheet like that. And basically, I just tear it. I tear it down into long strips like this, just by separating and tearing it down. And then basically just stitch these sections together. There's a few tutorials that you can watch on YouTube about it. But yeah, I find that it's just a lot more economical this way. And another cool thing is that you can customize it yourself. So this is an old T-shirt that I used to wear. Bit of an aliens fan. So yeah. So this book, how many sheets did I put in? Probably like 2 or 3 different whole sheets of watercolor paper. So it only cost me about 15, $20 to make. Whereas if you go to the shops and you buy one, and I do buy sketchbooks as well, and the convenience of it is also great. It just depends on the quality, but you can then, if you make it yourself, you can decide on what paper you're using. You can even make one that has different kinds of paper. You could have one that has like smooth and rough paper inside as well. So something that you don't quite get in the shops. So I hope that helps. But yeah, go if you look it up on YouTube, there's quite a few people that have made some pre-existing tutorials on them already. Susan says, we'll watch later, as just tuned in. Those buildings look overwhelming. Yeah. more than overwhelming, it was just a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Like once you understand the process of how I broke these down, so kind of drawing a line down the middle, separating this out into three buildings here, and then further separating it down into the floors of the buildings. It's a little bit less full on. Another thing I wish I'd done, wish I'd shifted this down a little bit more so we have some more sky. So at the moment it looks like there's more base, which is may work out. It's just a different style of composition. But we're gonna give this a crack. We're gonna give this a crack and hopefully be finished with this in half an hour. Right, so I'm looking through the chats and I think we're all good. There's a few more chats. The picture reference I see. Oh, that's a old comment. Paul's here as well. Hopkinson. It's good to catch you live again, even first thing in the morning here in the UK. Thanks, Paul. And Paul's a fellow artist, friend of mine on Facebook, and he's a he does natural sort of like animals, a lot sort of like birds and animals sort of scenes. His page is the Devon Artist, so he's does some really intricate, detailed watercolor work. Great guy. So I'm gonna continue on, everyone, and we'll get started on the painting as well. Getting a little dark in here. I'm going to switch on the light. Okay. So, number 10 round brush. Oh, number 10 round brush. And I'll bring up that reference photo. So now I am essentially going to go through and put on the colors. Just let me know how you're doing. If you need extra help, any questions, that kind of thing, yeah, pop them in the chats. So grab the palette out here, and I'm going to firstly start off with the lighter sections. It's interesting because we've got it's almost like these boats are in shadow. All these boats are in shadow, but the source of the shadow is not really apparent. It's probably a building just behind that's casting a shadow forwards. So it's an interesting large kind of shadow shape. But we're gonna give this a go. So I've got some orange, a little bit of carbazole orange, and I'm gonna put that straight in here. We're gonna go into these buildings first. Okay, here, just drop in a bit of paint. That. And again, if you can, just try cut around some of the frames, leave a bit of white showing through. It's not, it's not 100% necessary, but it helps create a bit of contrast. I always find if you do it with the gouache later, it doesn't look quite right. Better if you leave it on the paper. Good, bit more there, here, and that sort of carries down. Orange building. Top of the building is a kind of a really dark color. I'm just going to use some of this purple neutral tint color. Get that in like that. Okay, let's do the one on the right hand side now. I've got some Hansa yellow. Hansa yellow. Just drop that in. Look at how vibrant these buildings are. Okay. I'm not mixing anything else into these colors. It's just basically the pure color that I'm picking off the palette. Down the bottom, I've picked up a bit of buff titanium paint. Rooftop, bit of orange, I think, and maybe some of this color, which is, I know what color this is. Why am I thinking so hard? Burnt sienna. Some more orange here on these rooftops. One here. This whole building here is pretty much an orangey red color. So we can get in this building as well with this color. And notice, again, I'm just cutting around the windows so that we have a little bit of the frame or whatever is in there. I'm trying to do this pretty quickly as well. Ooh, going right to the edge of that page. There we go. Down the page and cutting around these windows. Like that. That. Good. Now this one in the middle, before it all dries up, is looks to me like a kind of, could be lavender sort of color. I'm going to pick up some lavender. Or whatever cerulean or a kind of a light blue color you've got, that will work nicely too. Drop that in and hoping to get a bit of blending with the buildings to the right and left as well. Fantastic. Okay, let's do the other buildings. While we're here, let's do the other buildings. A bit of brown here. Top of that building. Good. Cut around those windows. A bit of orange or something further down. Yeah. And one thing I'd like to challenge you on doing is try to paint it with as few brush strokes as you can. So when you go through, there's just a few marks that you make on the paper, and that's going to create a really fresh look for you. Okay. Over here, it's just all warm, really warm colors. This building is like a yellow, so I'm going to go in and get that yellow in all over the top. That, cut around some of the frames. Okay. Yeah, it just always, for some reason, looks better when you cut around and do it all. Leave the white of the paper. Some more burnt sienna for the rooftop. Bit of burnt sienna, maybe some orange as well, running through that roof. Burnt sienna orange kind of mix. This, and I've recently got this new palette, this large sort of palette, and it's great because it just lets me mix paints so much easier. Bit more lavender for this building, coming down like that. Okay, I think we are finished with some of the details on these buildings. Got some titanium white. I'm going to put some of this in for these shades and things. A little bit of that. I normally use Naples yellow for this, but I don't have that other palette with me at the moment. Let's put a bit here as well. Maybe just a little bit cool down. A little bit of coolness in there. Okay, good. A lot of the boat is actually dark. I'm going to use some ultramarine on the boat. Yeah. Okay. Light wash of ultramarine. even on here, that's kind of darker blue, ultramarine sort of color. Just a cool color like that. Let's go and put in some brown here for this section of the walkway in the background. Oh, there's a part of it here as well that we'll put in there. Let me just soften a bit of this up here, and we can add in a bit of blue just to melt into the left hand side, hopefully. Bit of purple or something. That quite cool in this section. Okay. Having a look. Painting more the tones rather than focusing too much on the color. Oh, it's all pretty kind of cool. Blues and everything down the bottom. At the top, it's just yeah, essentially a lot of the warms. And it's not too late as well to do these sort of darker areas under the buildings if you do find some like this. So yeah, probably better to use a smaller brush as well. You do find that also the ink is not as dark as you would like times, and so you might have to go back into some sections with the watercolor. Okay, depending on how much contrast you want to put in there. Let's put in some of the water with this round brush. Now, I'm going to kind of figure out what we want to exactly do here. I'm just going to try and mimic the reference. Bit of coolness in here. That underneath the boat there. And section around the side of the boat. It's kind of just these, it's almost like just dulled down versions of the colors that are being reflected further down the line. Just a general warmth in some of these spots is good enough. Okay. And where's that bit of that carbazole orange? I love this color. And this will granulate hopefully nicely out underneath. Create some inconsistencies in here. Okay. Good. Just get this orange in first. I'll probably get in most of the dark bits and reflections and stuff in darker color later. Leave a bit of white there. Down the back, it's just all dark, so I can just drop in neutral tint, maybe a bit of purple here around the edge. Just let that kind of sink in a bit here. In the water, just a few little touches of paint here and there, like that. Wet on wet. Get in some of these little details in there. But I think I'll actually do most of it in sharper sort of color later. Good. Now the sky, I'm just going to go with cerulean blue. Cerulean blue. Put around the edges of these buildings. This there. Very grainy color. You can feel it on the paper. Code all over to the left-hand side. That. Excellent. Okay. That's it. That's the sky. That's most of the buildings done. And the next step is just waiting for this to dry. I'm going to grab a hairdryer. I'm going to put in the final bits and finish it off. Okay, now this is all dried off quite nicely, and what we want to do now is begin to add in all the shadows and bring the entire scene together. So this won't take all too long. The main thing is just in the water, we want to make sure that there's more waves and things going through the water. And also on the buildings, I just want to get some shadows on the buildings too. So there's a few more comments as well. Margaret McFadden says, awesome drawing, Darren. Not sure about doing this one. I think I'll just watch you paint it. Well done. It might be a good idea to do like a smaller part of it. I think if I were to do it again, I'd either stretch it out to a one long session, or I'll just do like a little snapshot of it, maybe 3 of the buildings and then a boat in front of it. That'd be a bit more manageable. There's so much in here, I didn't anticipate it would actually take me that long, but even trying to work on it pretty quickly, it's taken quite some time. Edna Delos Reyes says, you're a great mentor. Thank you, Edna. I'm glad that I'm helping, I guess, explain things in a way that makes sense to you, and I'm hoping your painting's turning out well too. Nerida says, I'm watching tonight. Might try painting tomorrow. It's definitely too dark to see what colors to use. Oh yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, I really like the bright colors you are using. Yes, having the brightness of the buildings in there, and then leaving the white bits around the windows as well really makes such a difference. But it's not finished. It's not finished yet, guys. It's not finished yet. So once I put in the shadows and what have you, it's going to look great. It's even going to look even better, because there's so much that's not the shadows and stuff here. It's just not done yet. Margaret says, love the way you painted this, Darren. We'll look it up when when I have more confidence to try and draw and paint it. NFT is just fabulous. Thank you, Margaret. Great. So let's finish this off. Last bit. And you'll notice with all my paintings, the way I approach everything is the same, exactly the same. Light, painting all the light areas to the dark areas. Okay, so let's look firstly on some of the buildings, and we'll start off with the buildings because I think that's probably the easiest bit to begin with the shadows. I'm mixing up a little, if you see here on the side, just a little bit of neutral tint plus purple. I do have a color called amethyst as well. Amethyst is Daniel Smith's amethyst, and I did a review of it. We're posting it sometime. It's got these kind of sparkly bits of thingos in it. This is quite interesting. So uh, let's have a look. We can see where is the shadow actually coming from. Well, there's actually, if you look at the buildings, there's slight shadows running almost to the right hand side, forward, almost like yeah, just running towards the right. So it's interesting. Some kind of building that may be coming in from this angle, casting this shadow on everything else. So I will try to get in some of these shadows on the buildings, and I think I'll use a flat brush, okay, just quickly to do this. So that's a bit of a shadow here, here, here on that right hand side. You know, that could be a bit of a shadow there, there, you know, here, just running on the right hand side of that um, area there, like that, a bit of shadow like that. Okay, it doesn't take that much at all, and you certainly don't want to overdo it. You just want to indicate a little bit of darkness on some of these sections, and that's it. This rooftop is actually a lot darker than what I've indicated, so I will darken off a little bit like this. There we go. Extra darkness on there. Here there is a shadow being cast here as well, like that. Here, uh, here. Look darker actually. There, shadow cast to that right hand side. Bit of a shadow there, here. So pretty basic. I mean, that shadow there I could have done better. But we'll work on some of these bits and pieces here now in the foreground. I think I've got a little, yeah, I've got this brush, kind of it's a flat brush. Okay, and I want to mix up a dark paint. So I've got Imperial Purple plus Neutral Tint. Okay, really to go into this back area first. And I'm going to darken off more here. It's very, the paint's very dark. There's also a lot of liquid in there too. Okay, so just put in a bit there like that. Okay, and remember to leave in some of that previous wash too. Okay, so that's a little kind of reflection of that boat. And then another bit of that here, that, yeah. Look, cut around this one and join this up a little and have these little bits of waviness underneath as well. There. We'll do this one here as well. Connect that up with this darker shape here. That. Okay. Bit of darker areas here too. The water running through and that sort of thing. Okay, a bit more kind of blue in this, a little bit more blue in this area here. I do think that's does need to be darkened off a little. Got these masts and the reflections of them in the water, which I'm trying to imply back there. Okay, but these are quite sharp sort of marks here in the water. There's this sort of reflection of that mast up the top there as well. Good. And of course, just little suggestive marks, water and things just running through this area. here and there. That. Okay. Looking good. Now, a couple things another quick thing I want to do is the masts. One here, it goes all the way up. This is going to be tricky to do. I was thinking whether I should get it in just completely dark. Maybe just put a bit of brown in here as well. That. Make it go up a little. Same with this one. There. There's a couple more here as well. Down here, there's one. Oops. I've drawn an extra one in, but that's okay. Yeah. Coming out from that end there as well. Yeah, we're just looking now for perhaps extra contrast that we want to add in. Create a bit more here. That. And I'm not even looking at the reference picture at this stage. All I'm doing is just trying to get in some balance colors, and also with the light and the dark sections in here as well. You know, another thing you can do if you've got a little rigger brush, you can pick up some additional paint, you know, like some white wash, for example, and use that to get in some little highlights across the water, bits and pieces. And let's just squeeze out. Let's squeeze out a bit here. Just a bit here, like that. White gouache. Okay, look at that. Let's see if we can get ourselves in like a bit of this. There we go. Right. Yeah. Some of that running through here. Brings these boats forwards a bit more. Even on that boat, there's bits coming up like that. Okay. You can get in a bit of contrast as well on the mast, a bit of light on the left-hand sides of them, like this. Okay. There, and even on some of these boats, whoever did it on that one. And in the water as well. I know some people do this where they'll actually use the gouache to get in, I guess, a bit of reflectiveness in the water. I'm not too fussed with this actually, but it's just something that you can do. You can add in a little bit more of that gouache here in the water to get in just a bit of color in there. And also, you know, I pick up, say here, like I mixed a bit of gouache with a bit of blue, bit of cerulean, and then suddenly you drop in that cerulean in there, and you've got a complementary kind of mix in there. Okay. I didn't really want to lift that up a little. Okay. Pretty loose, certainly like a really loose looking scene, and I don't mind it actually. I really don't mind it. I'll put in Also some little blue highlights and stuff somewhere through the background, like that. Especially near the orange and things. In some spots. For no other reason than just to help balance out the cool and warm colors. In there. I do realize I'm painting almost entirely with this rigger. I'll soften this line a bit here. Yeah, that's better. Because I'd gotten, before I'd put too much darkness, I think, at the bottom. So some of this, help me soften it out, a little bit of that gouache, soften it out here at the base. I don't know what else we can really do with this now. I think just some birds or something would be nice. Whoops. Made some of them too big. Little indications of birds because it's sort of nice. Have them near kind of this boat scene. Also, you can put them running through the buildings too. So, you know, you can pick up a bit of, you can just drop in a bit like that. Just running through, help to break up some of this color and don't overdo it though. I think I'm getting to that stage where I'm almost about to overdo it if I'm not careful. Okay, there could be some closer, maybe one here, like one on the water or something. A few birds flying around here on top of the boat or that. Okay, I think we are done. What do you think? What do you think? I think it looks okay. I probably got to go back and have a look at it later. It looks pretty loose. It looks pretty loose. Let me check. Look at the comments. Annie Ferranda says it's beautiful. Thank you, Annie. Yeah, what do you guys think? We've got a good combination, I think, of warm and cool colors. It's very, very loose, but it has its own kind of appeal to it, I think. And there's a balance, and I know I've kind of made everything kind of mixed together, but you can make out the busyness of this scene. I probably would have put more detail into some of the figures. You know, I would have done if you do this like a real big version, maybe I could do this in watercolor, the larger version, and spent more time on it. I think I could have made it more detailed and things like that. But I think this is quite okay. It's quite decent. Having a look at the chats. Matt says, "Well, I'm inspired to try this later today." Awesome, Matt. Yeah, the recording's going to be up, so give it a shot. You might get a bit frustrated by the windows. Look, probably some of you could tell that I was getting a bit a bit annoyed at doing some of these, and I was especially because it was the second painting I've done as well. But I'm glad that I finished it off. So push through it. Push through it. If you need to take a break, certainly go ahead and take a break. But always finish it off. Always finish it off. You surprise yourself at what comes out on the other end. You know, I think I'm surprised that it's turned out the way it has. There's certainly some few more improvements I think I could make, but overall I think it's quite okay. Another thing you might want to do is like underneath the buildings, like there's not really shadows there, but sometimes I like to just indicate extra shadows on underneath the rooftops like that. Very, very light shadows under some of these areas like that. Okay, but it's not super necessary. It dries off and you can barely notice it, but it adds another sense, another mid-tone through that. even that shadow there kind of does something, right? That shadow, not much, but adds to the overall look of it. Matt says, I'm waiting for water detail. That's the most challenging part. And morning, Nikki. How you doing? You just joined. Did you just join? Um, and Philip thinks I'm. Philip says, I think you're a genius. Have you used that pasting stuff to keep your whites white? What pasting stuff do you mean? Do you mean the gouache? This stuff? Pasting stuff. Um, all good. I don't think there's any chats on the. Oh, actually, I think I got maybe have some on Facebook. I've got the video up. Ellen says, did great. Dawn says, that's a print. Well, thanks so much for the feedback, guys. I think there's for me, I always look for a sense of balance in a scene. So if I feel like maybe there's too much detail here, not enough detail here, or there's too many warm colors and it just call for some cooler colors. I think that's something that I really work on. And there's certainly some kind of balance here. Like when I look at it from a distance, yeah, you've got the warmth here reflected off from the buildings. Perhaps this side we could do with more cooler actually on this side, slightly cooler because of that building, technically. But I think that would have been best done wet into wet to start off with anyhow. Fantastic. Thank you everyone. And Nathalie says, thank you so much, Darren. Another lovely painting, loads of tips. Yeah, if you like the video, please please like it and share it around on Facebook and to your friends on groups and stuff like that. The only thing I'll ask of you guys, if you do get the chance to, because it helps me to just get my work out there a little bit more. And if you do want to support me, do have a Patreon as well. Got all kinds of classes that I do pretty much the same thing, but I go into more detail. And sort of the courses that I make have a whole bunch of videos in them. A lot of artists, they'll do maybe just one course with one or two videos and just one or two demonstrations. But I pretty much in all my courses, I've got a whole bunch of them in there that I sort of just bundle together. I try to include as many as I can. I try to give out more than I charge for them. I never thought I'd really get to even a point like thinking about it last year where people will be buying these things, but it's fantastic, and the support that I've been getting from everyone it's just been amazing. It's just been amazing, and yeah, considering that I had no expectations to start off with, but this is something I love doing, and I hope that I can turn it into something something long term, that I can work on as I guess a more of an ongoing basis, a full-time basis, maybe with more experience and with more time doing it as well. So yeah, check out the courses, check out the Patreon as well. I do have a newsletter. I've just learned how to send emails to an email group. So some of you guys have registered for the newsletter, the Watercolour Mentor newsletter. So I have that up. You can sign up for that list, and I will send out tips and some thoughts that I have, maybe some bonus content as well. That would be fantastic. Thank you, Nathalie. I do have another session also on this Saturday, guys. So make sure you register for this Saturday if you're still around. Probably be at a better time for some of you because it's Oh, Philip's asking about you're asking about masking fluid, Philip. So, do I use masking fluid to preserve the whites? I don't use it, no, because I mainly because I don't know. I've never really thought of using it. Um, just because it seems like a bit troublesome to like another stage where I have to go in and mask out the whites. So I try to do it this way, and it certainly does not look perfect. I mean, if you're trying to get a perfect area preserved, white masking fluid's great, or you can take a little bit more care. Maybe it could be something that I try at a later stage, but I've never used masking fluid. I tend to just use a bit of gouache at the end if I go over a bit of essential white that I need to keep. I'll just pick up the gouache and recover, hopefully recover some of the whites. Edna says, "I like how you've made the reflections." Thank you. Thank you so much, Edna. And Margaret as well says, "Fantastic, awesome, guys." Uh, yeah, do let me know if you have any more questions. Otherwise, I'll probably be finishing this one off in a couple of minutes. I had lots of fun today. This one, when I was doing these buildings, I was getting frustrated. I have to admit, I was getting frustrated, but I'm glad that I did it. This is the first one, and certainly it's a little bit more detailed and more gentle on the eye. I think I love this shadow underneath here that comes towards the back and the van. I took a bit of time drawing this one in. Figure, yeah, I could probably work on it a bit more. I like how these shadows and darker areas turned out in this building as well. That kind of draws the van forwards. If you can see what I've done, I've put a shadow coming all the way across the back underneath here, and that creates interest in the van. It creates contrast, and the eye sort of goes to areas of high contrast. So here, the whites, perhaps the figure, I'll need to put a bit more white in there as well to sort of do it. But I do like this one. I like the granulation of that van. The pigment that I used on that van is granulated very nicely. Philip says, "Love your style. I was just curious. I never tried it. I was just curious if it was worth it." Yeah, always worth the try, Philip. Like, yeah, I've seen people use masking fluid. Say, like you see for these white bits of section up here where you've got I don't know what they're called, the things that hold up the sails. So basically, they sort of I've seen people mask off that bit at the start, and then right at the end they rub it off, and you have this beautiful crisp sort of line. So I think it would have some good uses out of it for sure. Um, but yeah, thank you so much, Philip. It's really appreciate your comments, and quite humbled to be in the receiving end of the comments and of the praise. But more than anything, I'm glad that you are enjoying and getting some use out of these sessions. Um, yeah, it's very rewarding doing them and just hearing and especially seeing some of the results that people are getting. Um, I really appreciate your time and yeah, if you're here, I always try to do my best to give you my undivided attention and my anything that I can assist with. So thank you all for being here, and do check out the YouTube channel as well and Facebook if you are around. I have other videos that I upload. Actually got another 10 that I'm editing and will be posting shortly, or across the course of the next couple of weeks too. But thank you, and I will see you next time.